Hey guys, it's Leah and welcome back to my channel. So as you can see by the title, today we are going to be doing a review for Avengers Endgame that came out in the States last night for its premiere. Make sure you guys subscribe down below if you haven't already. And also, this is going to be a spoiler, just so you hear it, a spoiler review. Before you click off of this video, if you guys have not seen Endgame, make sure you click above. I will have my spoiler-free review linked for you just so that you can still get a review without being spoiled. That being said, let's get started on reviewing Avengers Endgame. 21 films, 10 years. I cannot believe that this is actually coming to an end. As I already stated in my non-spoiler video, there are so many things to talk about in Endgame that I'm not even sure where I want to begin. I do want to say that I'm not going to be going 100% into certain things that happen with characters in Endgame. I will be making separate videos, but when we get to that part in the video, I will let you know, just so you guys aren't commenting down below like you missed this, you didn't talk about this. This is just about the movie overall. And I just want to say that I think the MCU did absolutely phenomenal wrapping up this franchise the way that they did. It's not an easy feat, and to have 3 hours not feel like 3 hours is insane. Before we get into the review, I just want to say a few things that absolutely just like I could not get out of my head the entire time. First off, the movie begins, Thanos is in a t-shirt. I'm just gonna leave that there because it looked so ridiculous. I mean, I wasn't expecting him to be in his armor all the time. Maybe I was. Or to be like naked or anything, but the way that they dressed him, he was in like a Hanes cotton t-shirt. I was like, no, can we not do this? But no, all jokes aside, I definitely knew that this film was gonna differ from what we originally expected. I mean, Thanos dies in, what, the first 30 minutes, if not even that. But having him die was definitely, I was not expecting that to happen in the first 30 minutes, but that is where it stops for me being surprised. Because I do want to say Endgame, because it's so focused on payoffs and putting in those Easter eggs and little things for us in there, it was predictable. I don't know if I'm the only one, but I definitely want to put this out here, like predictable. As soon as they killed off Thanos in the first 30 minutes, I was like, okay, you know, makes no sense. He's gonna come back somehow. And then I started thinking about the quantum realm and time traveling, and I was like, okay, this is probably how that's gonna pay off. And then as soon as they introduced that, and then they went on their quest to go find the stones, I was like, okay, obviously something's gonna happen, there's gonna be an issue, they're probably gonna have to fight Thanos again. And even when they were still collecting the stones before we got to the final battle, I was like, okay, I feel like Nat's gonna die. I still feel bad about saying spoilers, even though you're watching this presumably because you've seen the film. I was like, Nat's gonna die because we've been stalling forever for her to get a standalone, so they're just gonna kill her off unless they do like a prequel, but whatever, we're not gonna talk about that. And then even up until the very last moment when Cap went to go put all the stones back, as soon as they sent him to put all the stones back, I was like, and he hugged Bucky, I was like, he's gonna stay with Peggy. Like, that's literally the entire thing of Captain America, is he never stopped loving her. And I mean, it didn't make it any less sad when it actually happened, but I'm just saying it was like pretty predictable, and that's what you get when you get payoffs. I'm not saying predictable is a bad thing, but Endgame was centered on paying off all of these things that we have built upon for 10 years. So in that case, it was pretty predictable as to certain things that they were going to do or certain things that were going to happen. Although a lot of the film was predictable based off of different things that happened in previous Marvel films and you just expecting that there's only one way to wrap that up, There are two huge things that I did not predict at all that I absolutely loved. Well, the second one is kind of like debatable, but it was still a great moment because of everything that was going on, that it still left me just as excited. And I wasn't sitting there like, oh my god, alright, I get it. Cap being worthy enough to use Thor's hammer, and definitely Tony Stark using the Infinity Gauntlet after he makes eye contact with Strange, and Strange holds up number 1, meaning there is one more chance, or you are the one that is going to take that one chance and save everybody. For those of you wondering, I'm definitely not going to be talking about the Hulk or, you know, Tony's daughter. I'm going to save that for some other videos. That being said, that was an issue that I actually had with this film, was while a lot of our main heroes like Cap and Iron Man and Thor got plenty of screen time to work through their struggles, and even Nebula, there were others that got next to nothing, and it wasn't really explained properly. Like I said, I'm not going to explain it in these videos. For example, this shift from Hawkeye to Ronin wasn't even, you know, dished out. It was just kind of like, all right, here's Hawkeye. Like, I definitely think that that could have been fleshed out even a little more. Even the relationship that Nat and Hawkeye had, I don't think got a lot of screen time that it definitely should have had. Again, Banner and the Hulk, that whole mesh together wasn't really discussed, and I actually don't think that Banner himself got enough emotional screen time to kind of work through inner struggles like Cap did, for example. I do want to say Robert Downey Jr. did phenomenal. You could argue that from start to finish, Endgame is just one huge storyline transition for Iron Man. I mean, of course it is, but regardless of the other heroes, whenever he was on screen, it was his scene. Like, the acting and the way that he went about portraying Tony was absolutely amazing, and even everything down from his eye contact or certain body movements, his body language was perfect. That was honestly one of my favorite things about this film, actually, was Robert Downey Jr.'s performance. There are a few plot holes that maybe they're done on purpose and they're going to be answered later. I do want to talk about them more in other videos, so I'm just going to mention them. I'm not going to discuss them, but things that actually happened during the film that I was like thinking to myself in the theater, how does this make any sense? The first one being the 5-year time jump. What happens to people, like, during that 5 years? You know how Cap had his little session about people moving on and stuff like that? And then all of the other people come back after you've moved on. How does that work? Also, we know we're going to have Spider-Man Far From Home coming out, and he's taking a school trip, so I don't really understand if it's like a 5-year gap. Obviously, we saw people aged and people are different, so I'm a little confused as to how that works in the timeline with, like, Spider-Man, for example. He just picks up school right where he left off, or people that moved on and then all of a sudden, like, their family members are back or their spouses, like, and you've already moved on in 5 years. Like, I'm not really sure how that works. They'll definitely have to find some way to explain it. Another thing that I was quite surprised that didn't happen, that I literally thought was going to happen, was when present Nebula killed past Nebula. I was expecting the moment that she killed her for present Nebula to just, like, turn to dust, because it makes no sense how present Nebula could exist if she killed her past self. I was really confused about that. I just didn't understand. And same for Gamora. I don't know how she, like, there's just things in there that weren't really explained, or maybe not thought about, because it didn't matter as much in the overarching scale of I can't even call it Infinity War, in the overarching scale of the film, but it's definitely something that really bothered me and it really stuck out. And then, of course, there's no end of credit scene, but there is a little audio bit at the very end of the credits when they show the Marvel logo, which a lot of people are speculating on what that means, or if it's just like, a lot of people are saying, oh, maybe it's Tony Stark when he was working on his Iron Man suit, or Maybe it just signifies that the MCU will continue on. I don't really know. It was definitely a little odd. I'm getting sidetracked right now, but overall, I think that Endgame did a great job at closing this series. There was a lot of things to wrap up, a lot of storylines, and a lot of plot points that they needed to hit in 3 hours. I definitely think that they managed to do that. From a fan standpoint, I already said in my non-spoiler review, I would definitely give this a 5. From a non-fan enthusiast, I'd give it maybe a 4-ish. Not really sure where that lands. There are some things in Endgame, that being said, that Infinity War did better, such as incorporating some of the MCU humor when there's still darker themes. I mentioned in my non-spoiler review that there were a lot of moments that I felt as though the humor did not fit the tone. That being said, the tone for Endgame I think was perfect. It did not follow your typical superhero, happy-go-lucky, like something that we would see in Thor Ragnarok or Spider-Man Homecoming, for example. It definitely showed us and gave the audience time to think about the sorrows, the sadness, what was lost. They didn't try to rush through that. Instead, they used their time to allow the audience to try to feel what they were feeling. It was still a superhero film. There was some great action sequences. The third act, of course, was amazing. I keep thinking of like Deathly Hallows Part 2, for those of you who are Harry Potter fans, the big Hogwarts scene at the end, not to mention Cap's standoff against Thanos had the entire audience clapping. That was really, truly an epic fight scene that I cannot wait to watch again. Make sure you guys comment down below about what some of your favorite things about Endgame were, or some issues that you had with Endgame. Overall, definitely a great film. Not great as a standalone. I mean, I still think it's a good standalone film, but you guys know what I mean. It's meant to be that cornerstone at the end of a huge franchise. So, yeah. I'm so excited that I got to see it. I can't believe today was finally here. That is going to be it for today's video. Make sure you guys look out for my Easter egg video that will be coming up shortly. And I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.